What's good, everybody? It's Coach Phil, and welcome to another episode of Deep in the Game, man. And it is an honor, it is a privilege to have. I'm gonna go down the resume real quick, man, because he's got a lot of accomplished, man. He is a 4-time Grey Cup champion. He is a 3-time Canadian Bowl champion. He has over 10,380 rushing yards, 2-time rushing champ, a Grey Cup MVP, and a Grey Cup, also Grey Cup. Was it a Grey Cup most valuable Canadian and also most outstanding Canadian? Am I correct?
Yeah, that's the two-time. Yeah.
2-time. He got 2 times, man. Of course, we're talking about, ladies and gentlemen, the great certified Hall of Famer, man, Andrew Harris. Andrew, how you doing, man?
Appreciate the intro, man. Yeah, I'm doing great. It's sunny outside and everything's Gucci, so great day.
Hey, man, that's what it's all about, man. First, as I said off camera, but I'll say it now, man. Congratulations on a hell of a career, man. You announced your retirement, I believe it was yesterday, man. How's the body feeling, man? You took a lot of hits, man, but you were the first running back that I really noticed as far as when I started reacting to things, man. You've been the standard to me. So how you feeling, man?
It's crazy. I look back at when I first started in the league, and it was like physically my body was up here, but mentally I was here. And then as I kind of like got through my career, your physicality kind of goes down and your mental gets here. And I think like in my prime in that 2018-19, 21 season, that's when your body and your mind kind of meet at the same rate, right? And then after that, your body just gets down here and, the injuries start piling up. But for the most part, my first 5 years, I didn't really have any injuries. And, as you get older, these things start to tag on and just start to stack on your body. And it's nice to be able to walk away at the game without having anything too major. I'm still able to, I play a lot of ice hockey, so I'm still skating and I'm still active and doing the things I'm doing over here. So we'll see what kind of residual comes down the line. Once I hit that 40, 45, 50 mark. But I feel great, man. I left the game with my body intact, my mind intact, and excited about what's next for my future.
Got to have your mind intact, man, to be director of football operations, man. But we'll get into that down the line a little bit, man. But so here on Deep in the Game, as we talked about before, man, this is talking about your story, man. And we're going to start it off, man. You were born in Winnipeg, Manitoba, man, but you spent your early years in Steinbach, Manitoba, man. Start from there for us, man.
Yeah, so I'm just finished my documentary. Actually, it's called Running Back Relentless. We kind of dive into some of the trauma I kind of went through at a young age, and so I grew up with a single mom. I never met my father, my biological father, until I was 27. But so I grew up with a single mom, and she remarried, or she got married when I was I think like 6 or 7 or something like that. But the dude that she was married to was horrible to me. A lot of abuse in different ways, and moved us around a lot. In my childhood. So my outlet for everything was sports. My friends and my sports. I never wanted to be at home. I wanted to get away from my mom and my stepdad as much as possible. And it kind of got into this routine of me getting away. They would split up. We'd move away to somewhere else, and then he'd come back in the picture, and it was just kind of this ongoing kind of battle of like cat and mouse. We'd take off, and then he'd kind of come back in the picture. So I mean, me growing up, I had a lot of trust issues because I really couldn't trust anyone, that was supposed to be there for me, right? So sports for me were my outlet. We moved to Steinbach, which was, a really Mennonite town. Didn't really get accepted. I'm half, and I was an outcast, half black and an outcast in a pretty much all white school, all white neighborhood, all white community, and very religious community as well. So it was tough. And I forced myself to kind of find my outlets in a positive way, which was, again, sports. And then once I kind of got to grade 10, I told my mom I moved back to Winnipeg in the city. And, that's really when I really found myself and got myself in the groove into being, welcomed and accepted and kind of found a group of friends that, were rough around the edges, to say the least, that kind of embraced me. But that also brought me into a lot of trouble and things I shouldn't be getting into as well. So, going back to Winnipeg was kind of my saving grace in one aspect, but it also was very negative towards me as well. So going through high school, I had lots of scholarship offers and stuff, and I was still just making horrible decisions, and ended up not being able to graduate high school based off of my actions. So I didn't even graduate high school. So I ended up going to play junior football on Vancouver Island in Nanaimo, and that's kind of where my football career really took off, and I took it more seriously and started to do things off the field, educate myself, and work my way up in a workforce and get more experiences. And I was able to crack the practice roster with the BC Lions in 2008, which is like two or 3 years before my draft year would have been, and then made the team in 2010. As a receiver returner. And even through that process, so we won 3 national championships while playing junior, tons of records, and made lifelong friends in that organization. And that was a pivotal moment and time in my life where, that's where I had the most fun playing football. We had a bunch of guys from all different walks of life, kind of the rejects, the guys who weren't good enough to go to school, and kind of the guys who were rough around the edges, like I said before, and we all kind of came together, and we were. I think in my 5 years there, I think I only lost like 3 or 4 games, in 55 games or something like that. So, and then 3 national championships. So it was definitely a successful tenure in junior and an impactful one for me. And again, we're going to talk about the football operations side of things, but that's what got me so intrigued to get back into helping that team up, because it was so impactful for me. But yeah, so I make the Lions, and back then there was no Canadian running backs. It was an American only position, and the idea behind that in the CFL is that if you have a Canadian, you need to have a Canadian backing him up, because there's a ratio. Right, so you have 7 starters on offense, defense. So the running back was always an American position, and there wasn't really any backups. But I kind of found my way just to being undeniable in the way I was playing. That I finally got my shot in 2011 midseason. I think we were 1-6 that year, going into like midseason. We signed. I had a couple key signings like midseason. They named me the starting running back, and we won like a 9-0 run and won the Grey Cup that year against my hometown Winnipeg. And then after that, it's kind of been like I've been in the driver's seat. But throughout my career, a lot of things have happened, and especially in the later my career as I've gotten a bit older, and just always been resilient and had that chip on my shoulder based off of the stuff that kind of happened to me back in the day, and use that as fuel to kind of push through the things I need to get through.
Wow, man, that's. I don't even know where to even start, man. I usually have my little bullet points, kind of go where I want to go, but I wasn't expecting that. But I guess first,
we're getting deep in the game, man. Let's go.
Well, we deep in the game, man. I'm just saying I wasn't expecting the early part. That's what I was. Not check this for real though. Check it out though. So, for you growing, I'll start with there. For you growing up, man, and I can relate to that, man, a little bit. It's tough when you in a household, man. It's tough where you got. I don't want to cuss. I don't want to be disrespectful talking with you, but when you got a motherfucker you don't really like, that you don't rock with him and he don't rock with you, it's always tension. I experienced that in my own life, and me and my stepdad, we really cool now, but back then I could have done some things to him if I was in a different frame of mind. But for you to transition, also find a way to just, you found sports. And a lot of cats, man, like in the States, we have that where sports is the outlet for a lot of guys that come from broken homes or certain situations. But I didn't know it was like that up there for guys like you, man. Is that a prevalent thing, or is that just, it's dime a dozen?
Yeah, I mean, I think the situations are out there. I don't know the stats on what it's like, from up here down to down in the States, but I'm assuming it's very similar in a lot of ways, right? But I mean, it's crazy because when I find people in these situations, and every situation is different, and it's either fight or flight.
Right?
Are you going to fight this? Are you going to channel this energy, this negativity into something positive? And sometimes it gets so bad that you can't come back from it. And throughout my life and my career, I've had those moments where I'm like, man, this is it for me, and that's all. But I've always just been like, what else do I have though? I got football, and I know how to do this really well. So if I just can channel this anger, this emotion, this trauma, this whatever it is, into a positive and put that into my play, into my passion on the field, I'm gonna be able to achieve something great. And everyone's always talked about me having a chip on my shoulder and just thought that it was because I was trying to prove myself from being Canadian or didn't go to college, or even later in my career, always getting old now. And yeah, there's definitely those factors, but a lot of the shit and the anger that I had and the way I played was just me just letting it out, and it's crazy how sport and your career can kind of become like therapy. You know what I mean? Like it can help you work things out and kind of find yourself and get yourself in the right state of mind and find peace of the things you've been through. And as you kind of gain confidence and you find your way, you can look back at yourself and like, shit, like I accomplished this, and backs against the ropes, and is able to fight and make good relationships with people you can trust and people you can rock with and have those bonds that'll last forever. And I think that's the best thing about sports and football, especially because, it's a game where, you think of the O-line position where they literally have their backs to the whole play. They have no idea what's going on. They're just trusting that we're going to do the right job behind them, And you think of it, a quarterback, is his blind side. We're always just relying on people to do their jobs, when a lot of times you can't even really see what's going on. And I think there's a lot of trust and bonds and lifetime brotherhood that come from that. And some of my best people I'll rock with till the day I die. That it's an unbreakable, unconditional kind of love for one another. Is based off that. And when you go to war with someone, you bleed with someone, and blood, sweat, and tears, that's tough to break. So it's given me a lot, this game, and I'm forever indebted to it.
You say the word brotherhood, man. When we always in the locker room, or you hear coaches always say, man, guys, it's a brotherhood, man. We always stick together. We're gonna be bonded forever, no matter whatever walk of life we go through. We together. We take that team forward together. Hey, I'm gonna see you, and when we see each other, it's either gonna be love or we're gonna have to squabble and square up. But when I did my research on you, and I came across a picture, and I think it was when you either won your second or your third national championship, and I see just the expression. It showed that, man. Maybe at the time I didn't see it like that. Now knowing what you've been through, man, that was probably it looked like you were the happiest I ever seen you. Far aside before you knew about the Grey Cups, the most outstanding player, all that stuff, man. That seemed like that picture stood out to me. Talk about those guys, man, and give them shout them out, man. These guys, man, because those your brothers, man.
Yeah, and I think the photo you're talking about is I think they had me lifted up or something like that, and I'm smiling, and yeah. So I mean, every team I've been on, I really tried to push this envelope of like, excuse my language, but like fuck what you think about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Play for the guy beside you, and if you can be selfless and be worried about having your brothers back, and everyone's gonna be out there for their stats and their this and that, their playing time, and making the great catch or blowing a guy out. But when you can really actually sacrifice your mind, body, and soul for your teammates, for your brother, that's when you achieve great things. And I've been on some teams where I've tried to push that envelope, and it's just been on deaf ears, right? And it's tough to deal with. But I've also been on teams where it started that way, and we've kind of figured it out and achieved greatness and won championships. And that's the beautiful thing, when you can kind of come in and have that influence and bring guys together that kind of buy into that mindset. But you're only as strong as your weakest link, and I think if you have that unity, that mindset of like, man, like fuck everything else, I got your back, you got my back, and you just really just play that way and believe it, and it's in you, it's really tough to beat a team that's like that. And you might not have the most talent in the world, but the passion, the love, the respect, and the will to win, and the will to not let your brother down is really, really hard to break.
Playing running back and knowing that, was it always for you, like you knew you wanted to play running back? I reference this because you say, when you played, it was like letting out all the trauma, all the pain, all the frustration you ever have had. Usually it's guys want to play defense, like play linebacker, and they want to hit a motherfucker all the time, but they forget that running back, man, you get hit over and over and over constantly. Was that always position you wanted to play? And who inspires you as a running back to just be relentless?
Yeah, I mean, I think growing up, my favorite running back was Barry Sanders. And And my style of play, back when I was younger was a lot like Barry. I was a little jitterbug, and and I was just faster than everyone. And then as I kind of got to the professional level, I realized like, okay, I'm not the fastest guy out here anymore, and I'm not the quickest guy. And then I kind of morphed in the CFL, the linebackers and DBs are a lot smaller than they are in the NFL. So when I first came into the league, I think I was like 195 pounds, right? So that's decent size for the CFL. But as I kind of got into like those 215 weights, that's when I really felt like, man, I don't need to try to juke this guy, run around him. Like I can just run through this dude. And and I just turned this mindset of like, hey, like I don't need to get cute anymore. I just need to run through these dudes over and over again. And I had this mindset of like, I'm gonna be the hammer, not the nail.
Mm-hmm.
And there's an art to that too. I mean, a lot of guys that I've tried to, I've been playing with AJ Ouellette and the last 2 years, and he's all about being the hammer on the nail, but he needs to understand, and guys understand when you got to go limp and like let them tag you, because if you keep fighting everything, you're susceptible to injuries and all these different things. It's almost like being a crash test dummy or a stunt man. You got to understand how to get hit, understand how to fall, and understand when to give yourself up. But and that art kind of built up over the years of always trying to be the dancer and the juking guy and the speed guy. And I kind of transferred my game around like 2018 or 2017-ish, right kind of when I got to Winnipeg. And I was also just the passion I had, playing in front of my hometown as well. But just being that hammer, not the nail. And it's a lot more fun. I mean, making someone, juking them out of their socks or their shoes is cool, but you can when a grown man is trying to stop you with all his will,
yeah,
and you run through his face and he cannot do it, that is the best feeling in the world. Like he's coming at you with everything he's got. And my thing is after that happens, I started to get to this point where I was getting a little cocky, and I literally like this high pitched laugh would come out on the field. I'd be just laughing at the dudes, just going crazy, and it's enjoyable. It makes the game more fun. But that's the best feeling in the world.
It's when I first started watching more CFL stuff and I seen you carry the ball for the first time, I couldn't really describe your style, and I reacted to your highlights your first year with Toronto. I was very excited for you to go because I was like, man, he's still got a little bit of the tank left. Your style is so, I wouldn't say, because you mentioned, Barry Sanders obviously was one you look to. It's like you're shifty, and I thought you were 6'3". The first time I seen him, I was like, he's got to be at least 6'3", 240. No, you're at least 5'11". We're about the same height, 5'11", 6 foot on a good day. Yeah. And about 200, maybe 210 at that. But your style is so, you can make a move, you can juke when you need to, but you also know when to fall. You, like you said, you know when to give yourself up, when, take a hit, fall, do that, man. It's, you know how to do it. Has that always been something that is that something you gained over time, or is that something that you just, I can do that naturally?
I think, I mentioned I play a lot of ice hockey and so that's a lot of core, a lot of balance, and a lot of hips. So I think just the multi-sport. There was one off season where I worked with a trainer that just did it was out of a hockey gym, and it was all like one, like single leg, single arm. It was all balanced. Everything was on like, a Bosu ball or exercise ball, and everything was always kind of off balance. And that one year, I think that was 2015. That's when I really noticed when my balance just became like next level, and I was able to kind of like, pick half a man and find a way to just get out of things. And I used to try to use that spin move all the time and just keep those legs moving. And but I think the big thing is the core and balance. And again, I've never been the biggest, strongest guy. I'm not a big guy that likes to work out either. I honestly hate being in the gym. I'd rather go do yoga or go play hockey or, go hiking or something. Like I just hate being in the gym, looking at, the weights and just, going crazy. And some guys love that. And that's good for them. That's all them. But, for me, I need to be out doing something. And so for myself, I needed to try to channel that into like, how can I still, enjoy what I like to do off the field and still kind of stay in shape and use that as an advantage, on the field. So I think the balance part for me, it was the big one, just working on that. And I guess, obviously too, just the multi-sports that I continue to do throughout or continue to do while I was playing. actively.
I like that, man. So being in BC, man, also in Winnipeg and Toronto to finish off your career, man, those are three different teams, three different styles of offense. Take us through what was the offense like when you first got into the CFL with the Lions. You get to Winnipeg, that offense with all the weapons that they had, and then winding down with Toronto. What was the difference in styles?
Yeah, I had two or three different offensive coordinators in BC, but the main guy was Jacques Chapdelaine, and his offense is very complicated. It was one of those things where it took me like 2 years just to wrap my head around it. I remember being in training camp my first year. I was 19 years old or something like that, and had me at receiver. So they call this. I played receiver for the first year, and they put me at safety. I was playing safety for my first 2 years.
Wow.
And then finally, I just kept coming back and running back, and they're like, "Hey, give this kid a shot." But anyway, so I remember being at receiver and hearing the motion and be like, "Okay, I know where to line up now. I know where to motion." And then like I just caught the end of like the verbiage and asked buddy beside me, I'm like, "Yeah, we got Cherry Braves." Yeah, okay, cool. And then I'm like, I didn't even hear the snap count, so I'm like fired up. I'm like, I got the motion, I got the play, I'm running, and we're on two. I'm fucking 5 yards out across the line before we start the ball. So I was like, shit. So for me, I had to realize, like, okay, if I'm going to make this, I need to be the smartest guy on the field. I need to understand this playbook in and out. So I really took that as a challenge. And then once for me, learning the receiver position, when I got to play running back, I understood what the receivers are doing. So now when I'm doing my checkdowns after I'd get my protection, I would understand where the hole would be. So I'd have a check down, what it would be. And if I knew if I had a crossing route, if they were in man, that hole open, I could stretch that area, just outside the box, outside the tackle, because there'd be more area. And
right.
that gave me an advantage of understanding what everything was going. And then I kind of saw the motion I was doing as a receiver, what it did to the defense. So I actually started motioning as a running back. And now you see that in the CFL a lot. Guys come out from the backfield and all that. Before, everyone was always stagnant. I was always moving around and doing different things. I could be able to tell if they're blitzing, if they're key blitzing from the boundary or the field, or if they're doing some rotational stuff. Because if I'm moving and they're moving, okay, it kind of gives us a good key on what they're doing. So having that freedom to do that with Jock, it opened a lot of opportunities and being able to set different things up. And me and Travis Lule for those 3 years that we played together were really, really good on understanding checkdowns. And we do an RPO, and I would basically bend it back because that D end would be coming up to him, and we'd like do little shovel plays, and all this stuff was kind of on the fly, and we were just playing like backyard football. And so that was lots of fun. Coming into Winnipeg with Lapo, Coach Lapolis, his offense is a lot of misdirection, but we have our bases, and everything was just like downhill. Mm-hmm. That old line we had was nasty and mean, and we just liked to get after it. So, I mean, between those two offenses, especially, in the physical shape that I was and, kind of my prime years, I definitely had a lot of fun playing in Lapo's offense and then Buck Pierce's offense. But that's also because I was a focal point too. So, yeah, when I was getting 25, 30 touches a game, of course you're going to be happy. So, and then, and that's not any shade on Dinwiddie. Dinwiddie's an offensive genius as well. And, but again, not being the full, it's just a different point in my career. But I love his offense as well. And it's crazy now, even just going through the operations with the Nanaimo or the BI Raiders, just taking little bits and pieces of each playbook and like kind of putting them together. Simple down, obviously, because it's junior and not professional. But yeah, just seeing the things you like and the things that worked and the things that you want to kind of implement on your offense and your team now. It's a group effort of the three teams I played with, and hopefully we can kind of pick that up and do greatness as well at the junior level.
Now we're talking, man. Because when I first seen you, I was like, Jesus Christ, dude's getting a lot of touches, but people don't realize like with the way the offense was working for you guys with the misdirection, you just got to time it right and you got to be precise with the play calls of what you're doing. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think my thing too is as I got a little older is my patience. There's an art of just kind of like letting things develop and having some anticipation of where the defense is going. And it's funny too, like just like watching so much film where you could just be, in your set, and you're like, all right, I know where this guy's gonna go based off of what we're doing and how the misdirection's going. And when you kind of go through that, I'd always write 15 plays down, and I'd lay down on my back, close my eyes, call the play out, and I visualize these plays in my mind before the game. And I pick 15 like my favorite plays, and it's crazy when you kind of like just visualize and see what you think is going to happen, and then you get on the field. You know, it's the third, fourth quarter, and you need a big play, and we call that set play, and it's exactly how you envisioned it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The way the O line went, the way the defense reacted, the way you were patient. That's when the game goes to slow motion, and you're playing chess when everyone else is playing checkers. You know what I mean? And that's the best part about it, when that thing slows down and you're seeing things before they happen, and now you're just manipulating everything that's happening. Maybe not to a T, but that's how it feels.
See, this you mentioned this about like with BC's offense with Jacques. Was that like more of a concept based offense for y'all, or was it more of like these are set plays, we're gonna roll with these is what it is?
Yeah, Jacques was definitely concepts, and things would change based off of leverage, based off coverage. We definitely had a lot of check with me's, and you know, and we flip a lot. So I mean, I think he was more of a guy who wanted to see what the defense was doing, and we'd always have an answer for it, which I like. Whereas, you know, Winnipeg, it was like, who gives a fuck what they're doing? We're just going to beat them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I mean, and
we going to get ours.
I like that mindset. You know, it's like they know we're running the ball this way. They know we're doing this, but they still got to stop it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So having a mix of both of those is kind of cool. I mean, and RD is very much kind of the same way. He wants to see what the defense is doing, and, you know, and kind of plays off of that. Offensive minded, I think you need to dictate the game. I think that's the one who really puts emphasis on the flow of the game is who's dictating what's happening. You know, are you going to start like, you know, freaking out because they're blitzing? No, like we should have answers for that. You know, but let them blitz. Let them blitz. If they want to just drop out in coverage, okay, we have should. You know, there should always be answers for things and not. But I think also too, it's like you should have your bread and butter that no matter what, we're gonna run this stuff. You're gonna know what's coming. You know, in the situations, you know, certain situations where we're only gonna go to these particular plays and these type of plays, but you know, again, you still got to stop it, even if you know exactly where the ball's going.
As a running back, every offense has their about 10, 15 their openers. After the openers, and do you think when teams try to pace out the game nowadays, do you think in just Canadian football or CFL in general, do you think that benefits to the running back, or do you think that as a running back yourself, it was a detriment to you guys because you guys are going to take some hits on that, but you also got to. Do you like that, or do you like, hey, we gonna slow it down, or we gonna do this, we gonna do that?
Yeah, I mean, I've never played with a coordinator that had like, you know, I've heard lots of coordinators do this. They'll have like 10 plays, 15 plays that they have a script, and no matter what kind of happens, it's basically an answer for everything. You know, they had a 2nd and 20, they might switch it up, but you know, it's basically an answer for 1st and 10, 2nd and 5, 2nd and 2. Like it answers every question or every situation. But my thing is, if I'm expected to have a big role in the game, I mean, obviously you want to get some touches early, right? And I always found like I got stronger, and this is kind of a sick thing to say, but I'm a little bit of psycho. Like the more I got hit and the more I got beat up, the better I would be, because I would just like it would just put a switch would turn on, you know. And the more tired I was, the better I was, you know. I kind of just, I don't know, I just got into a different mindset. So for me, I always like to get some touches early on, kind of getting the game. And again, like, you know, even if we did call a pass play the first couple of drives and they're blitzing in the A gap, and I'm like getting the guy coming running down, you know, trying to rip my face off, you know, I like that. Let's go, you know, because that gets me in the game. If I'm not really doing too much in the game, it kind of just I get bored, you know. I'm like, okay, waiting for my time, you know. I need to get in the game. Let's go. And but that's just me. I mean, some guys like to ease into it. You know, I like to get going right away and you know, early and often.
What was your bread and butter play for you? Now that you retire, you can kind of give a little bit of the sauce. What's your bread and butter play where you know when Zach called it in the huddle, he's like, all right, I'm going to get about 7, 8 on this one.
So this is a play we kind of came up just messing around, but it's basically a tight zone play out of the pistol. So you can go front side where the quarterback opens to the hole. So if say we're going to the 0 hole, quarterback will open to the 0 hole, right? Then we can go backside handling where the quarterback will have butts a hole. So if it's going 30, I'd be like going to the right. You know, the quarterback would now open to the left, and we'd come down that way, right? So running that play was always my, like, I love running tight zone. Tight zone's my bread and butter. But then we kind of came in with this call called, we called it in Winnipeg whip, and then in Toronto they call it something else. But it's a misdirection off of that. So basically now you do your same footwork as if you're going backside handling. You're going to go downhill 2-3 steps, like you're going down to that 30 hole, and then you whip it out. So now you're on a little shovel or pitch pass.
Yeah.
So everyone crashes down, and especially if you're hitting with that, 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 1 hole, and you're hitting it down hard, and you're really good. You kind of work out that footwork properly. I've had some amazing plays on that, and it's crazy to see like different teams using that now. I saw some teams in the NFL using it too. I'm not saying I trademarked it, but I've never seen anyone do it until we drew it up, and it's everywhere now. But yeah, it works. It works like crazy. So, and then you can kind of do it off of offset too, so out of the gun. And then one of my favorite pass plays is sneaky. So basically, you're a free release. If say if we're going to the right, we call it like 50, or you'd be free releasing. 5 protectors, the O-line, you got your 5 protectors, you free release. So instead of lining up to the right, so if I'm going to the right, I line up to the left, right? So now if they're in man, that will backer has to track me, right? I'm thinking around left hash. That will backer has to track me. Now I'll set like I'm pass protecting for like that quick little second, and I'm free releasing now to the right to the field. So now he's got to track me through all that. And usually if they're in man, that person or no one else is going to be.
He's going to trail with. He's going to lock with
trail
you.
with me. So we used to call that sneaky. And in BC, I probably got at least 15, 20 touchdowns off that play alone.
Hold on. Now I got to see. Now we're really getting deep in the game. Now we're talking scheme. Okay. Yeah. So let's say, so I'm speaking now from a defensive perspective. So if I got my will, you're saying if it's man, obviously he's going to go with you. So are you starting from left? So think we're on the left hash offensively. Okay.
Right?
All right.
So you're gonna be the will. You'll be on the right side of the field. And you're looking at me on the right side on defense. Right. So I'm on the left. I'm free releasing to the right. But now I'm just gonna like kind of just go like this. Shimmy. I know I'm free releasing, and this guy, and hopefully you get his eyes away. Even if he doesn't, he starts to track you across. Right.
Right.
And then you basically free release, and then another side of it is you have pickers. Right. So you have 2 in breaking routes. Coming from your receivers as well. It works magic, man.
See, it's at a disadvantage. That backer's at a disadvantage because when you already got your free release, man, his angle is already messed up. So he's got to figure out, well, is he going to cut inside? Is he going, how do I break down on this one? But see, okay, that is kind of sneaky. That is sneaky.
Yeah,
I'll get that to you.
That's what we call it, sneaky. But yeah, and then even too, if you go up to, especially if he's trying to bird dog you, so he basically comes up, or green dog you, sorry. He's trying to come up and just make sure that you're not releasing or anything. And usually, if you're on the left, you're going to release to the left. Right. A lot of guys will go across, right? It just doesn't, like, in their minds or in offensive coordinators' minds, it doesn't make sense to free release across from the quarterback. But if he blitzes, we're going to have protection because the O-line's sliding to him, right? And then we're just going to be hot off the front side, which would be on the right side. And now it's just a hot throw. Right, so that's really when it works, because if they're blitzing, there's no one's going to catch. So if the Sam or the Mac is blitzing and I'm leaking out to the right, that's sneaky, just a quick dump off, and there's no one else there.
But if he's got green dog responsibility, though, isn't he supposed to just it's almost green? It could be different up there, though.
No. So he comes up. So I'm looking like I'm about to pass pro. Right now he's going to come up to me. And now I'm going to slide right through the line. I can go through A gap, B gap, C gap, and I'm out of there. So he's going to get caught up in that wash.
Okay. Right. All right. See, I'm trying to learn, brother. I'm trying to learn. So as we transition from talking about your playing career, man, hell of a career, obviously, but you made a decision, man. Well, actually, I do have one other question. When I started reacting stuff about you and I saw the comments, certain things people said about you, do you feel like there could be a misconception about Andrew Harris at all, as far as like, because I've heard people say, and I'll say it honestly, they say you're a dick, you're arrogant, you think you're better than everybody. I don't get that from you. I just think you a dog. You about that life. But do you feel like there is a misconception about you? People that don't know you different from people that do know you?
Yeah, I mean, that's probably guys who I played against. I think if you asked my teammates, the guys I went to war with, I don't think you're going to get that same answer. But on the field, man, I'm not even gonna lie to you. I am a dick, you know. It's a different person comes out, you
Right.
know, and I don't give a shit who you are, where you came from, you know, and especially being Canadian, I take a lot of pride in the CFL. And there's a lot of American players who don't respect Canadian players, you know, and it's still to this day, you know, and we got some talent down here. Obviously, it's not even close to what it is in the States, but I definitely take a different approach when I'm like going against a guy who played Div 1 at Texas or Oklahoma or, you know, or wherever it is, right? Because I came from junior football, you know, I ain't shit. And for me to be here in the situation I am, and I'm playing with you and I'm dogging you or we're competing, I'm gonna say what I can and I'm gonna do what I can, you know. So that comes out for sure, absolutely. And at the end of the day, I mean, at the end of the day, I respect everyone. I have love for everyone. But on the field in those moments, yeah, it's on.
See, that's
It's
that's
on.
that's the thing. I hear it from people all the time when I get in debates with people about the CFL and they try to dog it and talk shit about it.
Yeah.
Until you actually experience a CFL game or just the environment or even talk with the players, you'll understand that, man, it's a different ball game, but it's also not even just like the schemes and all that shit, but there's a lot of pride that comes from the fans, the players that are from Canada. They take a lot of pride in that. So I hear pride from you about the CFL, but do you think that guys that do come up to the CFL, they think shit's sweet and they think they're
Oh,
gonna do
hell
what
yeah.
they did? And
Yeah, I mean, there's the amount of dudes who, you know, like that were name guys that, you know, like I played with Austin Collie, like with Hawkins, you know, I don't know. There's I can name a million guys. And the attitudes that they came in, you know, into the season with or into training camp with, and after they kind of get a feel for everything. Let me put it this way: I've never seen an NFL player like play in the NFL the year before come in and dominate right away. Never seen it. I've never seen it. I've never seen a player that played in the NFL the year before and come in and dominate right away.
it's
It
the it's
just
the reverse though. It's the reverse. Lately now it's been reversed. You see Austin Mack get his opportunity with the Falcons. You see a lot of guys that come in, like my guy Reggie Stubblefield, other guys that they're getting looks to go like
yeah,
training camp and tryouts
yeah,
and workouts.
yeah.
It is. I have yet to see a
But
motherfucker go ahead.
yeah, but the other side, like it's not because they're not good football players. They are. It's just a different game,
Mm-hmm.
right? And our ball is good, man. It's fast, you know,
Yeah.
and the field's bigger. You know, they got the motion. Like for to play weak side halfback, that's the hardest position on the field. You know, you got to cover all that ground with the best route runner on our team that has a 15-yard, 10-yard waggle, and he has all that space. You know what I mean? And like you're not really getting a lot of help from your will linebackers in most cases. You only got one safety who's usually going to the field because you got to cover that much more field, right? So I mean, when you see DBs that come in and their transition, you know, and you see receiver, it's across the board. It's across the board. But like I said, I'm to this day, I've never seen an NFL player, regardless of how long they played. You know, look at Ricky Williams when he came up here. You know, like even Ocho Cinco later in
Yeah.
his career, but like these are ballers in the and Ricky went back to NFL and rushed for 1,000. You know, so it's like you don't see these guys who are prominent like players. You know, big name, small name, you know, whatever, come down and just our league is not a joke. It's not a
No.
joke.
No.
Yeah.
It's not. And I see guys that they want to stay. I'm gonna say I'm going. I ain't gonna bullshit you, dog. I'm just gonna keep it a beam with you. Uh, I've had some conversations with a couple guys that they always want to swing around there. I've got this amount of vet years in the NFL. I don't give a shit about none of that. Can you do what you're doing? Can you do what you did there? Here. That's my thing. I can't stand when dudes want to throw that weight around and yet they go out on the field and they on the practice squad or they,
Yeah.
you know what? I ain't gonna say shit. I'm
Well,
gonna
I
shut the
mean,
fuck up.
sports is a very what have you done for me lately? You
Yeah.
know, and even in the most loyal organizations, you know, when you don't come in and compete and bring the same thing you brought to the table years prior, you know, you're on your way out. You know, so it don't matter where you came from, what you did, and that might get you signed. It might get you a better opportunity. It might give you some more grace and leeway. And I've also seen a lot of guys, stick around a lot longer just because where they played and who they were. I
Yeah.
didn't really deserve to be there, right?
Right.
That happens in the draft all the time where guys get drafted high and they don't really pan out, but they get to stick around because they got drafted and they don't like the GMs don't look like idiots, right? But I mean that's just the game, bro. That's the business and it is what it is. But or no, man, the league's not a joke. I think the talent that's been coming up from Canada is getting better. I
Mm-hmm.
think, with the USFL, XFL, you're seeing guys kind of stay in the game a little longer. And I think the talent is there's more talent that's coming up from the States too. I mean, the guys that are coming out now, they're just a different breed. And you're seeing these guys that I mean, you look at Quantez Stiggers, man, like our rookie of the year, his story and he went to the combine this year and like, or the East or the Shrine Bowl, whatever. And that guy is when I first saw him, I was like, wow, like that's an unreal talent right there. And he's going to be in the NFL next year. That's one player I'm like, wow, and it's amazing to see these stories, see these guys come through that came through and get an opportunity in the CFL, but also appreciate it and show love and be respectful when they're there. And those are the guys who kind of move on and do great things. The ones who come here with attitudes and shit, they fizzle out real quick.
Oh yeah, no doubt about it. Did you ever get any NFL looks or anybody holler at you?
Yeah, so 2012, I had the Patriots and a couple other teams that are interested, but the Patriots are the big one. And back in 2012, we didn't have that open period where you can go work out from after the season until like January. So you actually had to get released from your team. So I asked Wally Bono at the time, I'm like, can you release me? And we didn't really have anyone else at my position at the time, and that was only my second year starting. In his defense, he was like, I don't think you're ready yet. I want to see you get down there, and I kind of just believed in that. And then the following year, I think my numbers dropped like 200 yards, between rushing and receiving. And they had drafted Shane Vereen and they got another guy who was like a third down kind of back that they were looking at me as. But anyways, the opportunity didn't come through and didn't happen for me. But I'm actually kind of, although I wanted to just see, what if, God works in the ways He does, and to go with the NFL and be flash in the pan and maybe play a couple years and a couple games and maybe I could have become a starter. I don't know. I have no idea what could have made of that, but I was able to play 14 years in the CFL, household name, all the things I was able to accomplish, and everything works out for a reason, and it is what it is.
Well, I'm glad you did that because I wouldn't be sitting here talking with you. You'd probably be sitting in jail after squaring up with Aaron Hernandez. But anyway, and I ain't cutting that. I'm gonna say that. I'm gonna stand on that. You crazy? Anyway, the devil is a lie. So now we go anyway. Yeah. Transitioning to post-career, man. Before it was your last season, man, I think they were saying that you were going to be the head coach and also director of football operations, but you chose to just be director of football operations for the Vancouver Island Raiders. Talk to us how that process and talk about your role. Like, what do you do as director of football operations? We hear so much about it in the NFL, but people don't really know the job description and what it entails. Break it down for us, brother.
Yeah. So after last year, like the Raiders were my 5 years. Like 2005 was the first year of the team, and we won the BC's the second year and national championship, and we basically won the BC conference and won 3 natties, and the team was kind of the cream of the crop. The last 2 years we've been 0-10 and like no sponsors, no billets, like just the team's kind of just in shambles, and had some internal issues, and so it was kind of like, I'm ending my career right now. What can I do to help this team, and get them back? And so I went out there and kind of saw the state of the franchise, and it was ugly, man. And so I was like, you know what, I'm gonna be done soon. I'm gonna help this team out and be attached to it in a bigger way. So my plan initially was to go coach after, and I'll get into why I'm not doing that in a second, but getting out there and kind of meeting people and it's all about, the resources that you have within your community, when you're a team like that. We're not funded by a school, we have a board of directors and we're a society. So it's all about sponsorships and relationships with the community. So that's my big role is rebuilding those relationships, bringing in sponsors, facilitating the recruiting coordination and helping out in that aspect. And then the other side of it is just overseeing the coaching staff and making sure that they're supported and they're doing the right things and kind of sending my message as what I think and believe in and my morals and standards down to them, but also giving them their free reign to do what they want to do in it, because they're going to be there day to day. But the reason why I didn't want to coach right away is I haven't had a summer in 20 years. And I got a young son who's 17 months. I got another one on the way in September, and I just want to relax, man. Every May, June, I'm like off of training camp, and the CFL starts early in the year, so I haven't had a summer where I can just kick back and enjoy myself. So that's my thing. I just want to relax, man, and just enjoy myself. And I'll go out to Nanaimo and catch a couple games, and so I'm doing everything from afar right now. And as far as the recruiting goes, we got some top-notch Americans. We're allowed to have 3 Americans on our team now, and we got 3 global players coming from Brazil and UK. We've got a lot of great players from across the country and in Canada. And I think we're gonna be a playoff contender this year, and that's exciting. So just giving these guys the same experience that I had is really important to me. Passing down all the great things that team gave me is really what I want to do. And as much as winning on the field is important, I want to make sure those guys lead better men and well equipped for what's next for them. Whether it's going to school, whether it's getting into business, or whether it's playing pro. I want to make sure they're better men, more well rounded, and they have 70 brothers that they didn't have before to go along with it.
Now, as far as great players, sometimes great players they struggle because not everybody has the abilities that you have. We've seen with, like, in basketball with Michael Jordan owning the Charlotte Hornets. You see now with Coach Prime in a little better situation at Colorado. How can you get the message across to players or recruits or anybody want to come in? How do you get them to realize, man, don't look at me as Andrew Harris, the running back. Look at me as Andrew Harris, a person that's trying to pass the knowledge on to you. How do you get that message across to them?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not Deion Sanders or Michael Jordan, but
in CFL, but in Canada, you got some cachet.
Yeah, but I mean, and I do feel that sometimes when you talk to kids, they're kind of like starstruck, and I think with anyone, no matter what it is, I want to be. We're all humans, no matter what status you are, whatever you play. We're all human beings on this world, and I think just passing kindness, generosity, and knowledge and respect onto one another, and just being there for one another. I mean, I think, especially going through this whole process, and my documentary's coming out, doing the premiere at the end of the month here. Just being vulnerable too, like, especially in football, there's a lot of like alpha ego, bravado, like, got to be a tough guy. But as you heard, I went through a lot of trauma, and a lot of people do, and they hold this shit in for so long, and something happens, and you just get in this downward spiral, which I was at, mid career, and it almost ruined everything for me. So talking about these things and being open and honest and vulnerable, and I think is the most important thing. And I want anyone I come across and interact with, no matter if it's through business, through football, through a young person I'm talking to, I want to make an impact on them. Leave them with something and have some sort of impact in a relationship that they can kind of be like, wow, it's a positive thing. So that's why I was so surprised when you're like, oh, I heard he's a dick. I really try to emphasize of leaving a positive mark or something on someone. So that's my thing, man. I mean, these young guys is helping them get the same opportunity that I had in some sort of way. Everyone's got strengths and weaknesses, and highlighting their strengths and building up their weaknesses is my goal.
I respect that, man, because there are a lot of guys, man. They're that transparency. That's what we want. I like hearing people that have played or people that are now going transition from playing to in higher positions, man. They lose sight of where they once were, and they don't understand the younger guys now, man. And you want to bring them up. You mentioned you want to see them become better men, not just as football players, but in life and in society. That's what we need, man. We need more of that just in the world in general, man. So that's great to hear. So before we get out of here, man, and two things I want to do, man. First, I got 5 questions for you for people to really know Andrew Harris a little more, and then we'll get up out of here, brother. You good with that?
Sounds good.
All right, first question, man. Best run you ever had, in your opinion?
Oh. Honestly, best run. Yeah. Oh man, that's just
we getting deep in the game, brother, as you said.
Yeah. Honestly, this will probably you never even probably seen this clip, but it happened in 2010. It was my first big run, my first rushing touchdown. Did get called back from holding, but it didn't impact why I scored. It was like the backside lineman or frontside lineman that didn't even have anything to do with where I was going. But I run like a mid zone play. I cut back. It was at Empire Field, 2010, or maybe 11. Yeah, I think it was 2010. But anyways, I took off. I cut back, juked out the MAC linebacker, and then I took off on like 3 DBs. And I was like, shit, I can play here, and I can do this. And that was probably my favorite run, because that really solidified to myself that I deserve to be there, and it gave me the confidence that I needed to be able to look myself in the mirror and say, this ain't shit. This is I can do this, and I can ball here, and I can make an impact. So that's probably my favorite run all time.
All right, I like that. I have to check that one out. All right, second question. Not even football related. After everything that you've been through in your life, are you okay? Mentally, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, are you okay? And share that.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good question. And my documentary will be out on Apple TV in June. But I kind of go through this process of accepting the fact that I was not okay for a long time, and I held a lot of shit in. I had a lot of darkness around me, and it led me down a lot of paths that I don't know if I didn't think I was gonna get out of, and even to the point where I was suicidal, and talking about that openly and this is right after I won the 2019 Grey Cup. I just reached, the ultimate goal, brought my city back a cup, and then I kind of got into this hole of a bunch of different things going on in my life, and and it lasted about a year and a half period of that. But I talk about how therapeutic this whole process has been, and now that I've kind of closed this chapter, my playing career, and I can look back and reflect on all the things I did on the field, all the things I did off the field. And I can really be like, wow, man, not only did you, do some great things in the record books, and, you got a couple things in your hand, a couple rings in your hand, but the relationships, the people that you influenced made a difference in their lives, and the people that you now have in your corner, in your back, have your back. Those are things that fulfill me even more than everything on the field, to be honest with you. And, looking back at that now in my situation and I'm in, my family life and everything, I'm absolutely happy. This is a long-winded question. You open a bag of can of worms, but I'm happy, man, and I'm blessed to still give back to the game. Kind of from afar. I got a great new career now. Living in a beautiful house, and my family's family's healthy and good, and man, life's good. So I can still walk. So I'm all right.
At least you ain't knock-kneed and got a couple knee replacements, but we Gucci over here, dog. We good. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, man. I want to make sure you good, man, because it's hard sometimes for dogs to walk away.
Funny, man, I literally like, it's sometimes you're talking to your boys and you're just like, yo, what's up, man? What's up? Sometimes I'll literally just be like, hey, you okay? Just ask that question, bro. Even during COVID, I did this check-in challenge that, isolation. I'm like, man, don't text anyone. Like, actually just pick up the face, pick the phone and FaceTime someone, get them, see their face. a lot of people just hold things in, bro. And again, especially as dudes, athletes,
Yeah.
it's a lot of people hold things in that weigh them down, and it's not healthy. So I wish you guys out there, man, just open up, find someone you trust and love, and embrace them, and and if someone is struggling, man, just be a great listener and be there for them, because you don't know what they're going through, and you don't know, what's behind that door that they're hiding behind. It could be dangerous. It could be something that could really do them harm. So make sure you check on your brothers and your people, and the world will be a better place for it.
We always say back here at home, we always say, man, check on you. Whenever some shit go down, check on your peoples. Yeah. You got to. I mean, I've had my own battles, man. So I feel you, and man, I'm glad you made it through, brother. I'm really glad you made it through. Number 3.
Get some lighter ones now, man. Let's go.
Yeah, I know. Shut up. Number 3, man. Let's see. What's your game day meal, man?
Oh, so I used to be like a pasta guy, that's kind of old school. But now, I was living in Vancouver, and all the sushi and fish, and I just felt light. But I love eating some sushi and some raw fish before a game. That might sound crazy as hell, but yeah, some sushi and some edamame beans, and then I usually have a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, kind of like right before, like half of one. Yeah, I know, I'm weird, bro.
Ain't nothing wrong with that. What you want? Is it you a triangle guy, or are you more of a?
Oh yeah,
I definitely squares.
Definitely triangle. Yeah.
All right. I'll get that to you. All right. Favorite teammate or teammates you've ever had?
Oh man, shit, that's tough. The first one that comes to mind would probably be Nick Dembski, because he was like a little brother to me. He plays in Winnipeg now, but just kind of like being in my prime, and kind of being a bit of an influence on him coming to Winnipeg from Saskatchewan, and just kind of talking through, helping him kind of get from being a Z receiver to a Y, and then just seeing him kind of grow as a player. We have very similar stories and lifestyles and off the field as well. And yeah, so he's probably one of my favorite teammates, just from a personal level. But shit, guy that like is just hilarious and a dog. Wynton McManus is unreal. He's hilarious.
Yeah.
Jamarcus Hardrick.
Mm-hmm.
Yoshi, yes. Fucking hilarious, man. And just an absolute animal. Like that guy has the most fun playing football than anyone I've ever been around. Yeah, I mean those are probably and then I mean I think back to my junior days, like I got like 5 or 6 guys that if I could take in any team in any sport, I thought they'd be my first 5 picks, just because just the love and respect, and they're all good athletes too. So yeah, I mean that's what I do for my when I'm going to look back at this, and even this year not being on a team, I'm going to miss the locker room more than anything, man. Like the guys, the road trips, and just the camaraderie, and just when you're playing and you go in at the locker room every day, you kind of just take it for granted. I'm like, fuck, shit's so competitive, and like. And last year, knowing I was retiring, I appreciated every process so much more, and I know I'm going to miss the locker room more than anything, and the guys more than anything.
I like that. And last question, man. You mentioned about your documentary coming out, man. Please tell us more about that. Where they can? You said Apple TV is coming out at the end of this month, April.
The premiere is April 27th at the Met in Winnipeg. But you can go to 33film.ca to see the trailer and all the information about that. And then it'll be out on Apple TV for the first window, and then we're talking with a couple other streaming services for the second window. But yeah, Apple TV will be out in June. So yeah, I'm excited to share with the world, man. Like my story has been troubled and a lot of things behind the scenes that no one knows about, but I was still able to kind of persevere and succeed on the field. And my goal with this film was to have a raw, uncut, telling my story of like the real shit that went down and how I kind of dealt with it. And my goal is just to be able to, if I can influence or inspire one person to get them out of that hole I was in, it's a win for me. So I'm excited for it and looking forward to it. And the feedback that I've gotten already from the people that I have kind of shared it with has been great. So we're still got some finishing touches, and yeah, the premiere on April 27th is going to be amazing as I'm retiring as a Blue Bomber that day as well too. So, but,
well, shoot a motherfucker the trailer, and I'll throw it in at the end of this motherfucker because people can see that, because I need you to sell some tickets and make some fucking money, number one. And number two, they need to hear this fucking story. So shit, my black ass might fly up there and come fucking watch that shit at the Met.
Let's go.
So with that being said, Andrew, thank you so much, man, for hopping on, shooting the shit with me, man, telling your story, man. And best of luck to you guys this season, man. We'll be in touch. And anything you want to say to everybody, man, before you get out of here?
No, man, I just appreciate the platform, and I've been kind of after you reached out, just looking at what you're doing, man. So keep doing what you're doing, man. It's amazing, and highlighting the stories, the athletes is really important, and humanizing these guys. So I mean, I think I appreciate the platform, and yeah, keep killing it, brother.
Thank you, brother. I really appreciate it. So that's gonna be another episode of Deep in the Game. We might be deep in this game, but you got the rules missing. Everybody, take care.